Croatia's temporary reception center, built in just one day, quickly reached capacity as migrants and refugees were bussed up from the border with Serbia. Most of the mainly Syrians, Afghanis, and Iraqis fled war or poverty and are headed to prosperous European countries like Germany.
Education opportunities in Germany are great, and Germany gives lots of help to Syrians and Palestinians.
Croatian authorities say the thousands of migrants and refugees pouring into this temporary camp will have their information taken, and they'll only stay a day or two before they'll be taken to the border with Hungary. But Hungary is building a fence along that border and says once it's finished, they won't allow any more to cross over. Croatia is helping the migrants in transition as attention turns to negotiating a European-wide solution.
We just hope, we hope that the governments in Europe will be able to find a solution to comprehensively address the situation of so many tens of thousands, if not 100,000 of people on the move.
The Croatian Red Cross launched an emergency appeal to secure food, water, and hygiene kits for refugees. Many are exhausted from their journey and having their path blocked at certain borders.
We hope that better information is provided and better decisions are taken. And better decision means decisions that are contributing into elevating human society.
But thousands more are expected to arrive through Serbia. If a European solution is not found soon, this temporary center could become something more permanent. Daniel Scherf, VOA News, Opatovac.
Remember the name, Alex Rossi. He works for News International, the Zionist pro-immigration news network. These are the people who tell us that Muslims are terrorists. They love throwing gays from rooftops. They love chopping people into small pieces. They love slaughtering innocent people and destroying ancient monuments. And yet for some strange reason, News International, that's owned by a Zionist Jew, Rupert Murdoch, he's not a Catholic, he's a Zionist Jew, his mother is Jewish, he identifies with Israel, that's his home country. He's always made a special point of supporting Israel. Rupert Murdoch will always be a devout Israeli Zionist. That's why his entire media network worldwide strongly supports Islam. Nobody benefits more than Israel. As young men leave the Middle East, this helps Israel. As Muslims flood into Europe, this helps Israel because they want us to hate their enemies on their behalf. This is a win for Israel. Background music is incidental. And it says here, and this is quite important to read this, it says, there's no limit to the amount of refugees Germany will take. No limit. Is this what the German people really want? Were they consulted? To the German people. And don't tell me that people who object are Nazis. This is one of the dirtiest smears. The mass media tell us daily that Muslims want to kill us, are terrorists. And yet if people object to the people coming, the same mass media that tells us these people are terrorists tells us that we should welcome them with open arms. Sky News and Alex Rossi say there's no, and Angela Merkel, who is the mother of the world's Muslims. We've been saying this for years. Merkel is a devout Zionist, a devout Europhile. She's a, I was going to say bitch, but that would be disrespectful to bitches. After all, a bitch is just a female dog. There's nothing wrong with that. But Merkel is worse than that. She's a traitor. She's a traitor to Europe. She's a traitor to Germany. She's a traitor to women. She's a traitor to decency. And I feel so sorry for Germany that they've got this evil witch as their leader.
About 4 million Syrians have fled violence and persecution. Refuge is often seen as a distant dream, but another 12,000 will now get a new life in Australia.
Our people will be true to our history as a place where those in fear of their life, women, children and families can rebuild and start again.
Single adult men are considered best able to look after themselves, but the intake is being seen as generous by those Liberal MPs and Labor who had suggested the figure of 10,000 refugees on top of Australia's existing annual intake of nearly 14,000.
The government's move as an expression of the generous, decent and open-hearted Australia that we all love and serve. Labor welcomes this decision.
That's the Australian way. When we see a problem, we roll up our sleeves and do what we can to help.
The Australian community have stood up and demanded action from their government and from their Prime Minister, and thank God for them.
The first refugees are likely to arrive in Australia by Christmas.
We do have to make all of these important checks, health, security, character.
They'll be given permanent residency. The total cost to the budget, about $700 million. They'll be selected from those registered as refugees in Turkey, Lebanon and Jordan.
There are Muslim minorities, Druze, Turkmen, Kurds. There are non-Muslim minorities, Christians.
Our compassion should pay no heed to the colour of a person's skin or the God they pray to.
The government has also committed an additional $44 million to support those still in limbo in refugee camps.
It's to provide basic equipment and support, shelter kits, clean, safe drinking water, food, support for women and girls.
The cause of this humanitarian crisis has been the spread of the ISIS terror group in the Middle East. Australia already conducts airstrikes on targets in Iraq, and as expected, the National Security Committee has approved a request from the US to expand those strikes onto Syrian targets as well. The legal argument is that to defend Iraq, Australia and allied forces, including the US, have to also strike targets on ISIS strongholds in Syria.
It is illegal for Australia to bomb in Syria. There is no UN imprimatur.
Labor's support is qualified.
Further, the government should formally notify the United Nations Security Council of our decision. It should agree to a parliamentary debate to explain the long-term strategy for Australia's role in Iraq.
For the Super Hornets already dropping bombs in Iraq, the change will be minimal.
They just take a 10-degree left turn when they go on task and they end up over Syria.
Australian planes will target ISIS in Syria, but even if successful, Allied forces are conscious of the potential power vacuum that Bashar al-Assad could fill.
Do we want Assad gone? Of course we do. Do our military operations contribute to that at this time? No, they don't.
Also, no plans for now for combat troops on the ground.
A victory looks like a region where regimes do not commit genocide against their own people and do not export terrorism to other countries.
A fight that shows no signs of ending any time soon. Tom Connell, Sky News, Canberra.